Welcome to the Echo Sportscast podcast.
I'm Paul McLean.
And I'm Dave Dale. We have an interesting guest today who came up to Nipissing University to take the phys ed program and has just taken over the town and is running everything now. Kiara Jefferies?
Yeah.
Thank you for coming to the studio and talking to us.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Now, you're involved with a whole bunch of different things. Can you just give me a quick summary of where you work and what you do?
Yeah, so I work as the sports administrator for the Nipissing District Soccer Club, as well as I'm the president for North Bay and District Girls Hockey Association. And then I work up at the university and help as an assistant coach with the women's hockey team and part of the game day staff operations and overseeing staff and learning their new roles.
What do you do after lunch?
Not much free time, that's for sure.
Right on. And you're from Georgetown originally?
Yes, originally from Georgetown. I grew up there. Played hockey in North Halton, went to school in Georgetown, played a lot of different sports growing up, and kind of found my passion for coaching when I was in grade 10 or 11, kind of started that transition from playing to coaching. North Halton got a pretty cool grant from the government that they used to make a mentorship program for players so they could sign up to become a mentor with a younger team. I got paired with a U13A team at the time, and one other player got paired with me, and that player was actually Sarah Fillier, who's on Team Canada's national team and then just got drafted first over on the PWHL.
Oh, wow. That's a pretty cool connection.
How'd you decide on Nipissing?
So I applied at Brock on Nipissing, and I also applied at Ryerson. It was still Ryerson at the time, TMU now. Brock, I could have went there and potentially played rugby, but the program wasn't really what I wanted it to be when I toured the university. And then I got waitlisted for sports media, actually, at TMU.
Okay.
And they only waitlist 5 people, so that was a tough situation to kind of be in. That was kind of my number one at the time. But the program at Nipissing, small class sizes, the interaction and the practicals kind of won me over. So that's how I ended up here.
Amazing.
So you could have been in Hogtown with the big city boys down there.
Could have been.
You chose to be between two lakes.
Yeah.
And then when you got here, obviously going to school and being involved, how did you first get started with your, all the different involvement that you have?
Yeah, it was kind of a hard place to be in first year, really trying to find a way to get involved in the community. Reached out to a number of teams at the time. It was still the Ice Bolts, so reached out to a bunch of teams, kind of landed in U7 fundamentals, the spot where they just kind of throw people that they don't know who you are, what you bring to the city, someone new. So I did that for a year. Then eventually I just kept pushing till I got my own team, but it was during that COVID year, so it was a bit of a challenge. I had the whole U9 group. So I had 23 players and could only have 25 people on the ice at Pete Pelangio.
Yep.
So as a first-time head coach by myself, that was a challenge, but pushed through that and kept working my way into the association and eventually got on the board, and then this year became the president of the association.
Oh, congratulations, or condolences.
Yeah.
And then soccer. How did you get involved? What was the start with
that? So built some good connections at Nipissing through different programs. Took the coaching course that Mark Bruner actually teaches, and I believe Mark's actually the one who recommended that I apply for the job with the soccer club, and the rest is kind of history.
Well, and that makes sense because Mark was really instrumental in the changing over to become the Junior Lakers that the Nipissing District Soccer Club is. And then that domino also led to the conversations that ended up having Junior Lakers for the Girls Hockey Association. So, yeah.
Yeah. Last year, first year's Junior Lakers, and I think we had a good partnership in the first year. Lots of good feedback. Obviously, at the beginning, there was lots of hurdles, lots of challenges. People not necessarily wanting to take in the cost to change, but now they see the benefits, having our players go out to their practices all the time, making a large-scale tournament. The year prior to last year, we only had about 45 teams in our tournament. Last year, we had 70 and brought them all together for an OUA game on the Friday night. So that was really, I think, an important part to that partnership forming and starting.
And how's it going for this year's tournament, and when is it?
So this year's tournament is November 7th to 10th. We have all the local arenas in North Bay, as well as we've grown and expanded. We have Sturgeon Falls on board, so we have their rink Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Powassan's also given us ice for the whole weekend, and East Nipissing on just the Friday during the day, but lots of rinks being used. in both North Bay and the district areas. People often forget, being North Bay and district girls hockey, that we have players from all over. So it's nice that those players will get to play 15 minutes from home as opposed to always having to come to North Bay. And again, we have about 74 teams right now. Could change depending on hotel and accommodations. If those remaining teams can find rooms, we might get a few more that are interested registering as well. And then we have a lot of teams interested in coming back to the OUA game. So Nipissing plays Western on the Friday night at 7 p.m.
Which, as somebody who was lucky enough to be there last year with my daughter's team and be a part of it, it was an incredible spectacle to see the gardens jam full for. And again, like the women's team draws really well, especially come playoff time. They're well supported, but to pack that arena and sell it out, that kind of only happens when the battalion go deep in the playoffs. So talk about some of the, obstacles to pulling that off, or just what goes into it.
Yeah, definitely a lot of time trying to find partners, sponsors, reaching out to the city to get use of the video board, making sure we wanted to make it have that real experience like you're at a professional sporting event. So we had, like you see at an NHL game, we had like the skaters on the ice at the beginning, so they got to stand on the blue line with the players they look up to. Being in North Bay, having a female university women's hockey team that young girls can look up to, they can really see what they can be someday, which isn't something that's offered in every city, which makes it a big draw. We even have teams who are scheduling their regular season games right now, and they're trying to plan when they come up around our games because they want to give those opportunities to their players that they don't always have.
And as a parent of two girls in hockey, I can definitely attest to what that means to them. Because of my relationship with the association from the store level and the business side, I was privy to the Laker change before it was public. And we had a lot of work to try to do on the back end to prepare for it. We had massive amounts of equipment orders that needed to be changed because we stock custom ice bolts gear, and to get everything ready, we were on an accelerated timeline. There was a lot that went into it and a lot on the league side, but my daughter was in the car, and I had to swear to secrecy while she was kind of overhearing some of it. But the excitement when she found out that they were going to be junior Lakers, and those girls who had been their coaches or on the ice for skill sessions, the Dominico girls come to mind, like as ones that, and they are everything to those girls. Like, they really get to see hockey played at what is the highest level below the professional, and they're right there in our backyard. They're on the ice coaching them, so it's amazing. And all those girls that come to the game, it's really great. We
don't want this to just be a 1-year thing either. We want them to see that the change was so it can be long term, not just, we did it 1 year, let's hype it up, make it good for a year, and then kind of forget about it. So all of our players just received their teams for this year. So a bunch were on the ice last night with their different teams for the first time. Every player is associated with their own team. Those girls then come to our games. They bring posters, signs. We have some of our players even have hockey cards of the junior Laker players in their stalls in the dressing room. So it's just that partnership and the connection they get to have, because our players didn't necessarily have that when they were their age. So it's a different side for them, but it's also special for the players and their situation that they're in as well.
And I mean, I've been fortunate enough, many girls have been through the amazing Lakers locker room that's in the portable because there just wasn't enough room. But anybody that's been lucky enough to go in and see what you guys have done as a coaching staff to make that, like, once you walk in, you have no idea you're in a portable. You are in a professional dressing room with lighting and stalls and a video board. And so for our girls to get to, many girls have got to use it as practice or different things throughout the year and get to be in there and be a part, come out with the team. It's really cool to watch.
Even last year at the tournament, we made the Saturday morning, any teams from out of town could sign up and come and tour the room. And we had parents and players, and we shoved probably 2 or 3 teams in there at a time. And it was good for the other teams from out of town to have that opportunity to have that question and answer with our players where they could just ask anything they wanted. It could be, why are you number 12? And just those little questions that young kids ask, or why do you have this on your stall or that? Like Mallory has ducks in her stall. So that was a big topic last year, and a lot of people were asking why she had that. So it's just those little things that they don't realize that even at the older ages, players are still doing.
So why does Mallory have ducks?
Just her good luck charm. They come on the road. They're our army. There's lots of rubber ducks in there.
So what goes into, I mean, the one thing, it's hard enough running a tournament, now trying to coordinate a tournament with getting everyone into it to all be 4,000 people in an arena at once. Like, talk about maybe some of the scheduling logistical problems that leads to, and just distribution of tickets and all the work that goes into that.
Yeah, so tickets were interesting last year. So me and Turk sat down and we hand wrote on every single wristband the seat numbers and rows in the building to make sure teams could sit together. Having general admission tickets, you're not going to throw 4,000 people in there and hope you can sit together. So that took a lot of time and a lot of preparation. And then just getting numbers from the teams themselves, that was a long time, but also pausing a whole tournament so everyone can attend a game. It takes a lot of time out of a schedule.
That you're already taxed with trying to make sure you get enough games and enough ice time.
Like, we had ice after the game last year just in case we needed it. Like, we could have had a game, the Lakers game, and then a half hour where they resurfaced the ice, got everyone out of the building, and another team played, because that's how tight on ice we were last year. Still working through the ticketing for this year, so we'll see where that goes, but unsure of if we're going to be able to make it free again, but we're working on those logistics right now.
And if anybody that's watching this wants to volunteer, help out, or contribute in any way, what's the best way for them to reach out to the association and to you to help?
Yeah, so if they go on our website, our tournament email's on there. So our website's nbgha.com. And then tournament email, it should just be tournament@nbgha.com. So those are the best ways to get in contact. We're still looking for sponsors. We have a lot more support this year than last year, which is great to see the community coming together for that. But looking at ways to give something for every kid coming into town. So last year we had bags with sunglasses and tattoos and croc charms, basically anything you could find. The croc charms were actually the biggest hit. And then this year we have a few surprises that we're going to throw in there. We're not going to get into that yet. Keep it so the kids can find out when they get here. Sunglasses, those were a big thing last year. We still have lots of those, so those might make a reappearance this year.
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, there's a lot of tournament options for people to go to. So, you're in competition with that. So you've got to give something memorable to make the teams, want to come back year after year.
Yeah, and we have lots of teams from out of town this year. Like, we have teams from Cambridge and Ancaster coming, which don't typically get teams from those areas, which is good to see that it's kind of spreading and growing. We've even added a U15A and a U18 double B division this year. We have enough teams to run those divisions, so we didn't have to remove them, and U11A as well.
Great. Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be another great weekend.
Assistant coach with Darren Turcotte with the Lakers. How's the team look this year?
Team's looking good. We got our first road trip this weekend for a preseason game at Waterloo, and then some team building, so it should be a good way for the younger players to get incorporated into the team. A lot of bodies, but we made everyone fit in the dressing room this year, so that's a positive on a not a typical year where we have more players than usual. But they're working hard. There's lots of compete and practice, which is great to see.
Right on. And the first home games, I had them written down here.
Yeah, I believe it's our home opener is October 18th against TMU.
Very correct.
I am in charge of all our logistics, so I hope I'm correct.
So I was covering the Ice Bolts when Darren was taking them to nationals and stuff like that. And that was pretty cool to see that. When you changed over to the Lakers, I was like, ugh, there go all my photos, right? Like, it's the old jersey now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we actually found the banner from when they won provincials that year at Midget AA.
Oh, okay.
And the city was actually nice enough to give us a new spot at Pete Pelangio for provincial and league banners to be hung. So they're above the boardroom on the Kelly pad.
Yep.
And the U18, or it's still midget at that time, so the Midget AA banner is up, and that one will not be ever taken down. So we're keeping that one up.
And where do you keep that?
So it's at Pete Pelangio.
Okay.
Above the boardroom on the Kelly sign. It's just at the top on the Kelly side. Yeah.
They look great. They're all nice, and they're hanging even where for a lot of years they were kind of off to the side, and some of them just with age or anytime water came through the roof or whatever, starting to crawl, or just, a little bit just left to forgotten, but it's important, I think, to have the pride in that, and you guys have done a good job of getting that out. It's a great start.
Yeah, we're missing a few banners, so if anyone knows where they are from 2018 onwards, we'd love to get them put up at Pete Pelangio with the rest of them. There is still space there, so can definitely reach out and we can find a spot for those so that the players can see them for years to come.
Yeah. Something else that's, we're just at the Dome opening for Canadore, so that's going to change what we do in this town for soccer. What does that look like? What's NDSC up to for winter and fall programming and getting ready for next season for soccer?
Yeah, so we're still in the kind of early stages of figuring out how field time's going to look and how many programs we can run. But in early October for soccer, we're going to be putting out some registration info for indoor. So we'll have some recreational grassroots level programs, as well as our competitive and development teams will be able to train year-round now, which is a great addition because, as we know, the teams in the South can train all year and we don't have those opportunities here. But also good for players who want to play other sports as well and might not necessarily be into the hockeys or ringettes or whatever's offered on ice. So now they have an opportunity to be active all year round.
The Lakers varsity men and women are doing pretty good so far this year.
Yeah.
6-1 for the women.
Yeah, the women's team is great this year. It's fun to watch. They have some good players. Being up there, especially when you're up on top of the press box, you get a pretty good view from up there when you go up there. So good soccer. Women's team's on a great run, so hope they keep that going forward.
My daughters, and again, that's a partnership with the Junior Lakers Soccer, go up and be the ball girls for the games and kind of help get involved and, again, get to walk out on the field.
Were they part of
tours.
that orange shirt reconciliation thing on Sunday?
They were all in orange shirts. I saw the volunteer kids that were up there.
Yeah, so our ball crews, so every one of our development teams, and then we typically have to go into the U13 age as well. So as part of the partnership, we always have a Junior Laker team as the ball crew for the men's and women's games.
Right.
So opportunity to go on the field. Pre-game for the anthem, they walk out with the starting lineup and get to be out there for that and experience that, and then watch the game field side. So I wasn't there at the first game because we had our fitness testing, but our U9 girls team, so they're a first-year development team who hasn't experienced being a ball crew yet. They did the home opener. And I saw a video of one of Cassidy Brooks's goals, and one of them's behind the net, and she got so excited, I thought she was going to run onto the field.
Yeah.
But it's great. The girls on the women's soccer team, they actually came out to our end-of-year grassroots festival and handed out all the medals to all the Timbits age players, handed out their schedules so people could know they could go and watch who don't necessarily know that they have that option, and it's free. All of the soccer games are free, so it's a good family-friendly event. And the players after the games with the ball crew on the women's team, they made up little soccer cards, so they have their pictures on them, and then they'll give them to the girls, sign them, take photos. So just a good way for the players to get to know them as well, just similar to our partnership at the hockey level.
We'll have to get you to send us a shot of that so we can put it in the video.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be cool, right?
Yeah. No, it really is cool to see it. And you know, just for anybody, we talked about lacrosse on a previous week, and just, you know, it's a great field with the turf up there. Amazing chance to watch. Again, we're talking about some of the highest level of soccer that's being played in this country that's not at a professional level. So to be able to see that and realize that there's something beyond that, beyond the NDA, where, we're finding kids and they can stay home and continue to play competitive at the highest level possible.
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of them sort of peppered across the U Sport and OEA.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to see them make that transition and to see that there's life after high school for sure, as far as competitiveness goes. I actually was looking at the stats for Cassidy.
Yep.
And 3-game winners, 8 goals in 4 games.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. So fun fact, me and Cass went to the same high school.
Oh, okay.
So she actually has a twin sister that played at Nipissing. She finished up last year, and she's gone on to do her master's elsewhere. But yeah, they're from Georgetown as well for school. They're just from just outside, but good kids, good players.
So they're not really from Georgetown.
They went to school there. They're from Caledon.
Yeah.
But they say they're from the area. So.
Oh, that's cool.
So if you were to give any advice to, people in high school trying to figure out where they want to go to school, what they want to do with their lives, and if sport is something that's interesting, what have you learned along the way that you might think to pass on?
Yeah, I think just being involved early is important, and it gives them the opportunity to find out if they really, truly love something. Because if you're going to go through it, you might as well make sure it's something that you're going to enjoy. Coming from an area where I was always involved in multiple sports, then coming to Nipissing where I was here in first year, but I wasn't necessarily involved in the community. That first year was tough. I went home a lot to play with my club rugby team on weekends, just to keep playing, stay active. But then as I started to get more involved in the community, especially at the university level, North Bay just became home. So this is kind of where I plan on staying, at least for the next little while. Yeah. If not, maybe forever.
Yep.
But just getting involved early and really experiencing different things is what gave me the skills that I have today that I use in my everyday job and day-to-day life.
I don't think there's any good substitute for just getting experience. And you just got to start just being around it and understanding what's happening. And if you're somebody like yourself who kind of sees those and sees opportunities and ways to make things better, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's a lot of work once you're in there, but it's fun at the same time. Like getting to see kids enjoy a sport that you are passionate about as well. It's really rewarding in the end.
Yeah. How many athletes going into soccer? Like, how are we talking about?
Well, there was 1,200 just at the grassroots level. So that's not including our competitive development teams, which there's probably another 300 between those ages. Yeah. And then we have our men's and women's leagues as well. So
they all fall under
the
umbrella.
Kind of fall under the umbrella of Nipissing District Soccer Club. So easily 2,000, if not a little bit more than that.
Yeah. And so those competitive teams, they play in the HGSL and...
So the competitive teams have kind of branched. So our development teams are playing in the HGSL, which is the Huronia District Soccer League. So they're playing teams like Huntsville, Bracebridge, which they've kind of amalgamated and made a Muskoka United team. Then there's the Barries, Aurelias, Collingwoods,
Alliston.
Yeah, all those areas. And then we have 2 of our boys' teams this year played in the TOSL, so the Toronto Soccer League. So a lot of like the little areas in and around Toronto, all the different streets, because that's the best way to describe it.
Yep.
And then 2 of our girls' teams are playing in the I model, which is one of the higher levels of soccer. So they play a qualifying season, then they have a 2-week break where they divide them amongst the tops and the bottoms and make another division. And then they're playing out of that. So the U14 girls are in the YRSL for their C2 division, and they're in the top 4. They're doing really well for that I model division. And then our U17 girls played out of the Toronto League for their second qualifying season.
A lot of travel. That's it's 300 families.
Do you get a portion of the travel points? Or?
I luckily don't have to travel with them, so saves that bit of a headache. It can be hard to get some teams to want to come to North Bay, and I think that's a challenge not just in soccer but in girls hockey as well. Our hockey teams play out of the OWHL, so the Ontario Women's Hockey League Southern Loop for the most part, because driving 4 hours north doesn't make sense to play teams that aren't even the same caliber as you. So we do get some pushback from some of the southern teams and where they're coming from. So for example, North York being 3 hours away, they don't necessarily want to come for a single game. But scheduling started last night, and I was pleasantly surprised. Most teams have actually been on board with coming. There's been a few that do not want to come. We're working on it. But we're not that far away, and we do have a lot to offer, and our players want to play at home as well.
Yeah, I mean, it is understandable. Growing up in Southern Ontario like you, it's, they have lots of teams to play already, so the idea of tacking that on makes it difficult. I can appreciate where they're coming from, maybe saying we don't want to drive 3 hours, but I think the work that you've been doing as well, and a lot of the teams to make it as hospitable of an environment as possible so that they can come up and enjoy it. I think people were hesitant at first, and not unlike the change to Junior Lakers, once they saw it, the buy-in's been better. We've had people who don't travel to tournaments as much or need the hotel stays that we do in Northern Ontario. So I think they're starting to frame that as a bit of a team building exercise and a chance for them to come up, and they'll play 2 against us, and they can maybe go to Sudbury or hit some other teams on the way back and make a weekend out of it. Yeah,
like we have one team who has reached out already from Central York, so they're tacking on a Lakers game, and we'll give them a dressing room tour while they're here. Make it worth their while, give them something they don't get to experience at home, and make it more personable. Give them a reason to come here and want to come here year after year.
Yeah, not for a game. Well, the best way to be a good host is to beat them. Make it worthwhile.
Yes.
Send them home learning something. All right. It was interesting talking to you. I was, like I say, a tournament convener for East Nipissing Minor Hockey. And when you're talking about all that and the nightmares of tournament convening were coming, I used to be a sports editor in Simcoe County, and I know what it's like down there with all those teams. They don't even like driving from Collingwood to Barrie, let alone up here.
No.
And I imagine some months they are worse than others as far as they don't want games in February here, right? So,
and it's really hard to find. So for some teams, depending on the size of the division, they have to come for 2 games.
Yeah.
So to find doubleheader ice that's reasonable time, that has the amount of time you need between games for rest for a regular season game is not always easy, especially with the limited ice we do have in the city. Being North Bay and District, we did try to reach out to those outskirts to get ice time in East Ferris or in Powassan, but they also have their associations that they need to look after. And I get that, and I totally understand it, but at the same time, we are North Bay and District, and I think they forget that. We have a lot of players that come from their area as well, and the boys' associations definitely get more of a priority than we do, which it's disappointing. But I do understand where they're coming from at certain times. I'm hopeful that once they're done all their scheduling, that there is some ice left over and they're able to accommodate a little bit of ice, so it helps us.
Yeah, and that's just a massive undertaking trying to get the scheduling done, because you've got every association coming, and including the ones you're trying to host, and figure out their schedule, and then
it's a hot mess.
Changes and that, but yeah, thankfully, South River's been a good arena, which also doesn't help get them to North Bay, but can sometimes alleviate. You've chopped off 30 to 45 minutes of travel time.
And it means something, for sure.
So just trying to, we've done things where we've hosted another team and worked with, whether you can get food catered in and have these kids even sit down together as 2 teams and play together, or have lunch together. You never know, one day they might be playing on the same team together at Nipissing University. So the sooner they can, make friends and have that social aspect of sport, it's again, another positive that maybe they're not going to get if you were just going to the game and going home.
Well, I think you got everything under control. Right on.
Sometimes.
Yeah. We're going to wrap it up at this point. Thank you very much for coming and letting us have a glimpse of all the work that's necessary for all these sports.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
And good luck trying to stay out of the goo. Politics here. I think one last piece of advice: if you join the roller derby team and get some real good promo there, and then use that to break down the doors of some of these associations, you might have some luck. But anyways, thanks again.
Thank you.
Good luck. Well, this has been another Echo Sportscast podcast. I'm Dave Dale.
I'm Paul McLean.
Right on. Thank you.